awesome teenagers for another interesting episode of Teens in the Spotlight, episode 5. Good afternoon and good evening to whoever is watching me right now. Still, we're reading Violated, a true life story by Miriam Koyemi, and this is Teens in the Spotlight. Our last episode, we stopped at a moment of imbalance. That was on chapter 4. Now we're moving to chapter 5. The Falls. Let me share this with you, the pregnancy episode, so that you can understand and what eventually leads to abortion often seems unplanned, but it is planned the moment one started to have sex. We should understand that pregnancy is not the problem, just was. It's simply biology, and when the ovary is fertilized by sperm, a child will be formed. It's called pregnancy. I was having various symptoms, so I went to check. I was pregnant. It could not have been a mistake. I was already having sex with my partner regularly. It was that time that the reality of what I had been doing dawned on me. I was just 15 years of age. Panic mode was activated. I called him to let him know something had happened. We met at our usual place. Just at this time, we were serious. All the raging emotions we often had when now on sabbatical. I was not feeling what I used to feel at his side again. I broke the news of my pregnancy to him. My guy kept looking at me and was quiet for a while. He knew that to say he was not the one responsible would have been a far cry. He was the first boy that I ever had sex with me, and he knew it. He replied, I thought you were on pills and you can't be pregnant. I reaffirmed that I really was, but this time I was already distraught. My knight in shining armor does not have an answer to this question. I retorted that what will I do now? Should I go ahead and tell my parents? He is also clueless about this matter. For Christ's sake, we were both teenagers. He suggested that I should take more pills so as to do something about the pregnancy. I replied, what pills are you referring to? We both have silently consented to the concept of abortion. Now I knew that I have an image to protect. When I was foolishly enjoying the morning of sex, I was the least part of my consideration. Now it became something to consider. That the plan was to hurt an unborn child. If you're pregnant, don't abort the baby. There are couples who would be willing to have the baby as theirs. It's a gift from God. Errors committed. I began to seek for help to get rid of the baby. Of course, from the wrongest of places, I was told to ingest lime and salt. I took several dangerous substances in retrospect. I realized how much I was being toying with my life, with the ingestion of different things to execute the abortion for me. Still, the baby refused to go anywhere. I was as pregnant as I was. I told myself that I was in big trouble. The baby was now about 6 weeks. Parents, please always check your teenagers, not due to suspicion or lack of trust, but to make sure they are really fine. Now I said to myself that I was in big trouble. A part of me wanted to keep the baby. If he had encouraged me to, I never got the encouragement. It was later I realized that he had impregnated another girl at the same time. I was pregnant. I was lovesick, jealous, and angry. It was then I determined to remove the baby at whatever cost. In retrospect, how could a teenager of 15 years old carry this kind of burden? I had gone beyond my limits and touched what I was unable to handle. When I was on top of the world with my sexual fantasies, I thought I was the smartest girl in the block. I never bargained for what I was expecting at the moment. My fantasies all had my fantasies had turned into fallacies. My sweet dreams had turned into a horrible nightmare. Who I termed to be my closest ally and placed above my family and giving me a horrible stab in the back, I was left to bleed to death with the callousness of what I was experiencing. I had no money to even do the abortion if I wanted to. The love of my life had totally pulled away from me since I told them about the baby in my womb. Can you believe that I kept all this to myself without informing any member of my family? I did well to hide my sickness and weakness from everyone in the house. Later, I told some people outside at home. You see, in teenagers' mind, death is not in the equation of things. He or she thinks that death is a far cry, so engage in activities that bring death close. In retrospect, I was actually swimming in foolishness, thinking I was smart. I received the unlisted advices from people outside the family. You have to abort the baby, but I cannot give you money for an abortion. You can't keep a child at your age, but you should tell your parents about it first. Get policemen to arrest your boyfriend. This is serious. Advice were not what I was looking for at this moment because I had already advised myself. I told them because I needed money from them. All they said entered through one ear and went out through the other. All of them said they could not drop their money to terminate a life. All this time, my boyfriend was already nowhere to be found. He had eloped. I quietly sought other wrong options. I just could not bring myself to tell my parents that I was pregnant. I started begging on the streets to raise money for abortion. Of course, I was doing this mile away from the house. I was able to raise a little over 1,000 at the end of my begging adventure. I later spoke to a brother who gave me 2,000 naira to add to what I had. Now, I've gotten myself into a real mess and I had to find a way out. I wept bitterly. I felt bad and now I realized the import of what I had done. I told myself that never in my life would I do what led to pregnancy again. This question would be I kept my word. Shame and pain. With my meager resources, I walked into the hospital and asked to see a doctor. I had known him earlier and often called him uncle. He asked for a test to be carried out. He read the results out to me loudly. He said you are pregnant and the pregnancy is approaching 2 months, so you need to abort it, but we don't do it here. I would refer you to a doctor friend of mine and he will do a good job but must also have sex with you. Ah, uncle, I can't, I replied. He said your vagina is still tight and must be free for abortion procedure to go well. He lied so that he could take advantage of me and the situation. He wanted to use me to satisfy his sexual urge. I declined and walked out and went to the hospital the uncle referred me to. The doctor was so serious and said, please pay at the reception and I will call you when it's time for the procedure. I wept continuously before the procedure and there was no one to console me. I looked at and then saw a Bible. I opened to Psalm 51, asked God for forgiveness and said, I am sorry, Lord, forgive me. When you were out of your mind, when you were swimming in foolishness, you didn't ask God to forgive you. But when it was the time of hardship, this is just the thing about human beings. When you are doing what you're not supposed to do, you will not even think, you will not believe that there's God at that moment. But when you are getting to the time of hardship, when you can't take it anymore, then you find out that there's somebody up there that is called God. I cried my life out. You can imagine a 15-year-old going through all this by herself. It was a self-inflicted horror. We often hear the stories of other people to feel that the same could not happen to us. We think we are smart. It's a lie. I consider it the height of foolishness. I learned from my own experience. Now the love seems real. It's nothing when you add sex to it. Mine seemed real too, till I found out that I was not the only one who was saying that to. I gave you my body at the expense of my destiny. When you introduce illicit sex to a friend, you just killed it. You can't be friends without going to bed or staying in secluded places or touching each other. Is little touch today will take you to bed tomorrow. Wake up, girl. To any girl that is listening to me right now, or to any girl that this is happening, girl, wake up. Thanks for watching Tunes in the Spotlight. Don't forget to subscribe. Still, I'm Kimberly Ayakale. I'll be reading Violetta, the True Life Story by Miriam Kwame. Thank you for watching. Have a good night.